Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Not Special, written by MarlynnOfMany. The refueling station was on a small moon in the back end of nowhere, close to nothing but a couple of wormhole junctions. Since it had little convenience store and everything, it really gave off a 7-Eleven next to the desert highway vibes. Just, in space. The moon wasn't big enough for proper gravity or air on its own, so someone had installed a gravity generator under the dusty red ground and turned it up just a smidge too high. But I wasn't going to complain. I was going to buy pre-packaged alien snacks at the store while my co-workers handled the refueling. Mimi was calling the shots, tentacles waving and gravelly voice audible from here, while the Frillian twins handled the heavy lifting of the connector hoses, and Captain Sunlight was at the payment kiosk. The others were either staying on board or already browsing the aisles. I just picked up a pack of something colorful, doing an artful fumble and recover because of the gravity, when a rowdy group of Armorlites trooped in. I didn't pay them too much attention. Just a bunch of macho dinosaurs with holstered blasters and bipedal swagger. Totally normal here. But one of them said something that brought me up short. "Hey, look, another human," said the cheerful voice. "Maybe you can go get some tips on how not to be such a disappointment." Raucous laughter followed. I followed in their direction and saw that they did have a human with them, a pale and unassuming guy, just a bit shorter and stockier than me. He looked annoyed by the comment, but not surprised. When he walked over to me, I asked, "What's that about?" The Armorlites were already ignoring him. The guy sighed. "They heard a lot of stories about humans before they hired me, and I don't meet their expectations." "What kind of stories?" "Humans doing daring things like running for hours to get medicine to a dying people, catching a diseased rat before it infected an entire space station, throwing fruit at a charging fauna hard enough to make it leave." He ticked things off on his fingers. "Exercising a ghost and riding a hover sled like a skateboard fast enough to catch a bomb before it blew up. How am I supposed to compete with that?" He threw his hands in the air. I said, putting down the snack I was still holding. Would it make it better, or worse, to know that it was all the same person?" "What?" "The rat wasn't actually diseased. The ghost was a howling dog, and I didn't know the thing was an explosive when I rushed to catch it," I said. "And I wasn't the only person throwing things at the fauna." "But what?" he repeated, with a spread arms gesture that smacked into the shelf. Rubbing his hand, he asked, "That was all you?" Yeah, I admitted. "Unless there are other humans doing the same things, which is possible." He raked his fingers through his hair, setting it at odd angles. "I can't believe this. I'd tell them, but they just want to hire you instead." I rushed to assure him, "I've got a job already, and I don't want to take yours." I glanced over at the Armorlites, who were grabbing food and accessories. One clicked a flashlight on in the other's face, prompting curses from him and laughter from the others. That tracked from what I'd seen of the Armorlite culture before. Toughness was important, kindness not so much. "What do you do for them?" He sighed again. "Bookkeeping officially. They needed somebody to handle the boring stuff like money and permits while they focus on hunting the biggest animals they can sell." "Gotcha. That sounds exciting." "It's not. It's like going on a trip with my cousins again, except they're even bigger and make fun of me for not having claws." "You've got other stuff going for you, though," I said. "We just need to figure out which of your differences they'll respect most." "I'm all ears," he said with a certain level of sarcasm. "Please tell me what about my fragile human physique will get me respect from the mighty." Oh, right. They did call themselves that. I'd almost forgotten. At least they were a straightforward species without a lot of mysterious depths. "Well," I said, thinking, "they like fighting. You're more suited to stealth than they are. Small enough to hide and do sneak attacks that they wouldn't see coming. What if you introduced them to rubber band warfare and sniped them from hidden spots on the ship?" "Nope," he said. "That would just end with me cornered somewhere and them showing off how even thin scales are tougher than my skin." "Good point. Oh, what kind of animals do they hunt? You said big ones, but do you know the specific names?" I got out my phone and brought up the database of known fauna that I'd talked Captain Sunlight into buying for me. As her own hired animal expert, it was really the kind of thing that I should have. My vet training on Earth only went so far. I think the last one was a treehorn, he said. Wait, they talked about going after Aakash and daggerbirds next. Right, now what kind of noises do those make? I typed quickly. Big creatures indeed, by the looks of it. Daggerbirds had prevented more than one colony from getting a foothold in the wilds of a nearby world, and were unlikely to stop being a threat anytime soon. I skimmed the rundown for the vocal files. Here we go, mating call. Keeping the sound low enough for just us to hear. I played the croaking warble. Okay, the guy said, confused. Can you imitate that? I asked. Give it a shot, kind of like a frog. Rook. Looking skeptical, he did. The expression on his face said he wasn't impressed with his own efforts, but it sounded accurate enough to me. Great, I said. Give that a bit of a practice, and then you can go out with your crew and impress everybody by luring in some targets for them. I could, he said thoughtfully. I usually stay on the ship while they're hunting, but it might be worth a try. Can I have a copy of that sound for practice? He got out his own phone and I played it again so that he could record it. The Armlights were dumping things onto the front counter, ready to pay and leave. I caught sight of a right packaging that I recognized and had another idea. Thanks, the guy said. This might actually help. What was your name? Robin Bennett, I said with a belated handshake. Oscar Tennyson, he replied. Thanks for your help. Looks like I should grab my stuff and get going. Before you go, see those tall cans with the purple labels? I pointed at something the Armlights were buying. Yeah. Have you ever tried that? No. They get wasted on it. I've steered it far clear. I grinned with all my teeth. That's not alcohol. That's caffeine. What? Humans can process caffeine better than most species on our own planet, and just about everybody in space. It's a poison to most. It gets them super drunk, but for you, I pointed at him with glee, for you, it's just a bit of energy. Take your moment, then walk in casually while they're getting wasted, and slam one down. See what happens. He was smiling now. You sure? It's really just caffeine? How much? I checked into it before. One of the huge cans is like a watered-down coffee. These guys are absolute lightweights, and they don't even know. He grinned to split his face. That is the best news! One of them called for him to hurry up, and he bid me a quick goodbye before scampering off. I saw him grab food cubes, water, and a six-pack of caffeine, which he bundled into the counter as the Armlights headed out the door. Be right there, just getting some stuff. They didn't look, simply telling him not to waste any time. He smiled his way through the purchase. Peeking over the shelves, I smiled too. Then I went back to my own purchases, with thoughts of getting an energy drink or two in his honor. End of story. Story number 2. The Conference After the War, written by MariesaMist. I watched the ambassador of the Gling tremble slightly at the hologram in the middle of the assembly. A human was projected by the hologram as they were busy cleaning up their experiment and couldn't make it in person. It had been decided to hold a meeting after the humans' rescue of our galaxy and the consequent annihilation of half a galaxy. Zugmong Ha's ambassador stood to question the hologram. Human Stevens, what was that box? I sighed, like they would tell us exactly what that highly advanced weapon was. A Holstein maxi fridge, the man replied immediately, and everyone froze. You mean to tell us that it's a refrigeration unit, Ambassador? Do you take us to be fools? Tu'umino's representative yelled, and the ambassador let loose one short bark of laughter. The box was a refrigeration unit. The bomb was inside the refrigeration unit. We needed it to still have air to explode, so the captain got the bright idea to dismantle their fridge and stick it in there so that they wouldn't have to kamikaze themselves. His face was notably blank for a human. We, the mighty Ruvar, were able to distinguish facial expressions on human faces much easier than the others. You used fridge? The stupider Lugni yelled. They had not achieved FTL naturally. Rather, they were aided by a much smarter race on the other planet. Clearly, he missed the point to what was said. I fear you might have not grasped what was said by Ambassador Lugni Shima. The box was a box. The bomb is inside. The Ruckleen beside him explained. It was the neighboring species of the Lugni. Bomb inside Boxes? He asked and looked around at all the boxes within the room. The Reclean sighed heavily before speaking. No. Well, Ambassador Stevens, is this bomb technology you will share? Headclothes Ambassador asked. No, as if it was mishandled. Well, I'm sure you understand my point, Stevens said. I raised my head and spoke. What happened to the treaty? No big weapons, I asked, and he sighed. The government ourselves did agree, but that weapon was made by an individual on a ship you saw. He was particularly upset about your home world being attacked, and very skilled, as I am sure you know. Stephen winced towards the end. But your species is still highly capable of making such explosions? I questioned again, and he smiled slightly. Of course. Don't worry, though. It just wouldn't be used in any of you. That I can assure. He seemed completely serious. What about the dogs? A voice called over the bedlam that had erupted at the last comment. Oh, yes. As you know, our race is a pack-bonding race. Dogs are very similar in anatomy to the Arbor race. We feel naturally inclined to aid their race, you could say. They look especially similar to a breed of dog called Golden Retriever in our world, although they are notably bigger and have a far greater attention span than even us. But yes, we domesticated animals similar to their race, and no, they aren't sentient, he added and smiled slightly. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps. Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Light Jock, Dragzoon WRE, and Lord Asrical. Thank you very much.